Okay, I want to try to shoot this video again. For those of you that saw my last video, you saw how terrible it was. This is going to be my reintroduction to the Dobson Utilities version 6.0. This video will hopefully be much better than the last one. So to start off, the Dobson Utilities, there's a small suite of programs that I've written personally. I'm very excited about. That, add some extra enhancements to your computer. Let's start by going down a list of applications that I wrote that you can use. First, there's Cedar, which is a colored directory utility. It displays directories in color-coded format. For example, as you can see, you got bitmap files stored in a brown, executable files stored in a green, INI files stored in a bright white, document files stored in a cyan, batch files stored in a red. So it gives you an idea of, or at least it allows your eyes to really focus on files that might be important. So that's a pretty cool tool. It will also tell you how many directories were found, how many files are in the current directory. Like in this case, I did a dir of the Windows directory, and my Windows directory has 406 files, and it's a total of 15 megabytes for that directory alone, not counting subdirectories. So that's Cedar. File date allows you to change the date and timestamp on a file. As you can see, my Dobson Utilities are all dated July 2nd, 2025 at 6 a.m. I did that on purpose for various reasons, and this is the utility I used to do it. Not really that important of utility, but kind of cool nonetheless if you have a need to change the date and time on a file for whatever reason. I also have File Find. This will search your hard drive for a file to look for. So, I'm stuttering in my speech. I'm sorry. I don't script my videos out very well. So, for example, find file. I want to find, every win.star file on my hard drive. So in my MASM folder, I've got a Windows include. In the Windows install folder, I got a couple compressed files. And in the system folder, I got a CNF file. In Windows, I have win.ini, win.com, and a few other backup files. And it'll tell you how many total files it found across your entire hard drive. And this shows you what directories they were found in, of course. So that can be a neat tool to help you find files. Then there's MemInfo. This program really wasn't intended for anything DOS 6 and newer, because DOS 6's mem command is great. It doesn't need any enhancements. This command was largely written for environments like DOS 3.3, DOS 4. Even DOS 5's mem command is, in my opinion, rather lacking. This will give you pretty much the same output as DOS 6's mem, not as detailed, but it gives you a pretty good idea of the memory in your system. Your conventional, your free conventional, your extended, your free XMS memory, how many bytes are free in your high memory area. For those that are unaware, the high memory area is available on a 286 processor. It's the first 64 kilobytes of extended memory minus 16 bytes that's actually addressable in real mode. This was actually a hack. This was a bug in Intel's processors. The memory address is supposed to wrap around, and you're not supposed to be able to access this. But due to this bug, that first 64 kilobytes of extended memory is directly addressable in real mode. So applications started using that space to load themselves, like DOS or mouse drivers, some mouse drivers, or various other programs. So this program will give you an idea of about how much free is in the high memory area. Not to be confused with the upper memory area, or what I prefer to call upper memory blocks. The interesting thing about MemInfo is that it's actually a dual mode program. It also runs under Windows 3.1, which I'll get to in a moment. But moving on, we'll get to that in a moment. Then we have SuperBat. This is a batch file enhancement utility, much along the lines of Norton Utilities BE.com, or one of my favorites was PC Magazine's Batchman. It's kind of where I got the name. Well, not intentionally anyways, but, SuperBat, Batchman. PC Magazine liked to do the play on words and say Batchman was like Batman, and well, this could be like Superbat, Superman, Super Batman, I don't know, whatever. But this will allow you to, if you're writing batch files, to do various things that you couldn't normally do. Like if you want to check for the presence of MSC decks, you would type superbat MSC decks, and then you check your error levels. If there's an error level of 0, MSC Dex is not loaded. If it returns an error level of 1, then MSC Dex is indeed loaded. Or if you want to automate rebooting your system, you can do that. You can automate rebooting a cold boot versus a warm boot. For those that don't know, a warm boot just quickly resets the system, doesn't go through the entire power on self-test, whereas a cold boot will force the system to go through a full power on self-test, counting the RAM, resetting all the peripherals and everything. So really your choice. And so on and so forth. So this might give some people the ability to write better batch files. And I thought that was kind of cool. Sysclock. I wrote this because I can't stand the fact that when you are looking at, date, it prompts you. If you want to just know the date, or if you just want to know the time, it prompts you to enter a new one. You have to press enter to get out of it. And I just like the fact that this will present the date and time in a nice, readable format. And of course, this is like more like an American format, as you can see. I've got month, day, year, as opposed to, I know the UK prefers day, month, year. And even the ISO standard format is year, month, day. But whatever. That's the way I wrote it. And you can actually change the values of the date and time just by specifying on the command line, like sysclock, edit date, and then provide a date. I'm not actually going to do that, but that's just an example. So that's sysclock. A little fun utility, but nothing important. Taskman and TimeSync are both Windows 3.1 utilities, which we will go into in just a moment. But let's finish up with the DOS utilities. Version.com is literally just for reporting the version to legacy applications. For the very slim chance that any of you might actually have an older Dobson Utilities installed, which I highly doubt. But if you did, the version program was used to report the Dobson Utilities version to other utilities to make sure they were running on the right version together. So this is included purely for compatibility's sake. It does nothing else. It's not really needed. It's just for legacy purposes only. So let's move on into Windows, and let's take a quick look at the Windows utilities. Have a drink of my pop here, if you don't mind. Log into my network. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. There we go. So I created this program group myself. If you want to do the same, that's up to you. I'm attempting to rewrite my installer. I do have an installer for these utilities that'll do this for you, but that's not ready as of the filming of this. So let's go right into it. I'm going to actually start with memory info or mem info. This is the Windows version of the utility. As you can see, I did model it after the Norton Utilities 8.0 System Watch. Gives similar information. It's not nearly as flexible, but it gives you a nice little window that you can run down in the bottom corner of your machine if you want to, and it gives important information like the total Windows memory. Now this is physical and virtual combined, same thing as this one here, and then this one is physical only. Now I don't exactly know why my physical is coming back different from Norton's physical memory. My best educated guess is that mine is excluding my disk cache. I am actually using 32-bit file access with a 4 megabyte disk cache, and that would almost perfectly explain the difference. But I don't know that absolutely, so there's that. And then of course, I give you a little bit of information on the GDI and user resources. These were very limited in Windows 3.1. More so, it's important to keep your GDI up. A lot of applications that did not clean up after themselves, did not properly delete objects, essentially created memory leaks or GDI leaks. And if your GDI gets down to around 20% or less, your system starts becoming very unstable and you should really reboot it. So that's meminfo. I'm going to go to TimeSync next because I'm going to save the best for last. TimeSync is for people like me that would like to synchronize their time. Now, of course, as we just saw in DOS, you can type in the time yourself. That means you have to have a clock handy, maybe on your phone or something, and you got to type it in yourself. That's perfectly fine and doable. That's what we've all been doing for years. But my TimeSync program will actually reach out to a network time protocol server or an NTP server. In this case, I've defaulted to pool.ntp.org to pull down the time and automatically set your system time for you. You can use any NTP server, like there's also time.windows.com that's available, Microsoft's own NTP servers. And of course, you do need to specify the time zone you're currently in. Windows 3.1 knew almost nothing about time zones, not really, and so I can't query that information easily. If I were writing a Win32 or Win32S program, time zones are easier to query because they were built into that API. So maybe something I'll get around to. But you can go ahead and, synchronize. I'm in Central Time Zone. We are currently minus 500 hours or minus 5 hours from UTC. It's going to go out, and you need to have TCP/IP installed and working, and you typically need to have TCP/IP set as your default protocol too. Otherwise, you can receive errors. So as you can see, my time's accurate, so I don't need to update, but I could click yes here, and it would automatically update my system time. I'm going to click no, and then you'll see that it randomly starts counting down from anywhere from between 10 and 30 seconds to avoid flooding servers, network time servers with data. I don't want to cause any problems for anybody that's hosting NTP servers, and it'll go right back to sync when it's done. So pretty neat utility, limited use, but still good to use, I think, good to have. And then, of course, last but not least is my favorite utility. Windows 3.1 comes with the very basic task list functionality. Let me show you what I'm talking about. My Windows folder, and then there's Taskman under Windows. If I can spell the alphabet correctly and go down to TA. So there's Taskman. And this is what the default Windows 3.1 task list looks like. Very limited, very basic. It works. But I've always been kind of preferential to the, Windows NT Task Manager. So that's what I decided to write. Something very much like that. I actually got the idea from a utility from back in the day called Super Taskman. But I can only find the evaluation or shareware copy. and you obviously can't register it anymore, and it does start to nag you. So, and not to mention that me personally, I don't really like the clutter here. I mean, it's a good program, don't get me wrong. I was really happy that I found it, but I figured I could probably write my own, and so I did. So my utility is intended to look very much like Windows NT's Task Manager, like this. And it gives you a little readout, very similar to MemInfo, the total memory, and your GDI user and resources. You can switch to any application you want, or you can even kill an application and close it. And this will automatically refresh itself every few seconds of any applications that you're running. So if I, relaunch File Manager here, File Manager's back in the list. Now you can set this as your default Task Manager. You can replace the Windows 3.1 Task Manager. That's what this option is here under defaults. If you check it, this will be your defaults, which means that if you close it and you double click anywhere, it'll automatically bring up My Task Manager instead of the task list. And then we have the run command. I wrote it so that it has a run history. It'll remember up to the last 20 applications you've ran. So you can, I can call upon Super Task Man. Why is that not clicking? That's being a little strange to me. So I want to run Super Task Man. There we go. I just launched it. And it's in my task list. And of course you can browse for applications and etc. And then there's restart. You can restart just Windows if you don't want to have to type Win when you go back to the prompt. If you're low on resources, like the GDI resources I mentioned, and you just want to refresh Windows, you can just restart Windows without having to go all the way down and then wait to type Win. Or you can choose to restart your entire computer. If you plan on restarting your computer anyways, you don't have to go all the way down to DOS and then press Control-Alt-Delete to reboot the system. You can just restart right from here. So that's my Dobson Utilities. These are programs that I spent a number of years trying to write. Very excited about them. Very happy that I wrote them. I am already receiving a few ideas and requests from people on forums where I've posted about my utilities, so I'm very grateful and thankful for that. I'm hoping to do more with the Dobson Utilities. I'm debating on releasing them as individual one-offs so people can choose to download just the utility they want. But the idea for me, including them all as a suite, was to be like the Norton Utilities. I really wanted it to be like a collection of programs that you would go out to the store and buy, and hence why I even bothered writing an installer. It would install the utilities onto your hard drive for you. But one suggestion was just to make the utilities available in a zip file so people can pick and choose which files they want to use. Perfectly fine, I can do that. It is a more modern day and age, but I did that just for that reason alone. It was just something I always wanted to do for as long as I've played with computers. And then, of course, there is a README file. It contains a little bit of information. I plan on expanding it out as I go, but there's a little bit of information there. There's a What's New file. That's literally just a version history. If you get bored and want to fall asleep one night, you can read it if you want to. Read at your own risk. But that is the Dobson Utilities. Thank you so much for taking a look. Thank you so much for everybody who's already given me ideas and suggestions. Keep them coming. Post down below if you have any ideas that you would like to see added. I am a new programmer. I don't have much experience programming for DOS and Windows, so my skills are, I got to teach myself how to do all this stuff. Trying to find how to do these things is very limited. The information seems to kind of be lost unless you talk to an old programmer. So I'm literally flying by the seat of my pants, trying to teach myself how to do this and trying to glean as much information I can from other areas, reading other people's code, if it even makes sense to me. Because back in the DOS and Windows 3.1 days, you had weird things like near and far pointers and segments, and I'm still learning all that. It's great. I love it. But, I might not be able to get to every feature that's requested because it might be above my abilities right now, but I do plan on continuing to learn and grow. So, one last time, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Do all the YouTubey things. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see similar content. I normally do videos just displaying my PCs in my collection. I am a collector of IBM x86 compatible PCs, and I just like to show what's in my collection and how each one is unique. But I do plan on doing more programming-based videos, and I also do a couple game videos, both old games and even new games. So that's what my channel is about. I hope you enjoy. I hope you stay. I would like to be encouraged to do more videos based upon subscriber count and likes. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.